You did not find this video by accident. I need you to understand that from the very beginning. Before we go any further, before I say anything else, you need to hear this one thing clearly and let it settle in your spirit. You did not stumble onto this message. You did not end up here by chance. The algorithm did not randomly deliver this to you out of the millions of videos that exist in the world. I sent you here, specifically, deliberately, at this exact moment in your life, because there is something I need to say to you that you have not been able to hear any other way. This is not a coincidence. I do not deal in coincidences. Think about the moment you found this video. What were you doing? What were you feeling? What had you been carrying in the hours or days before this? Because I want you to see that I know exactly where you were when this message reached you. I know what was on your mind. I know what you have been wrestling with. I know what you almost did not click on this and what made you decide to stay. I know all of it, because I arranged all of it. Let me tell you something about how I work. I do not send a message the same way to every person. I speak to each person in the language they can hear, in the moment they are ready to receive, through the vehicle that will reach them where they are. For some people that is a conversation with a friend. For some it is a book that falls off a shelf. For some it is a song that comes on at exactly the right moment. For you, today, it was this video. And the fact that you are still here, still listening, is not accidental either. Something in you recognized that this message was for you. Something in your spirit leaned in. That recognition is me, drawing you closer. That pull you felt is not just curiosity. It is the voice of someone who loves you, reaching out through whatever means available, to say, I need to talk to you. And today, finally, you are listening. So I am going to talk. First, I want to address the season you are in right now, because I know it has been a complicated one. I know there are things you are carrying that you have not fully put into words, even to yourself. Questions that have been sitting in the back of your mind. Doubts that have been quietly growing. A sense that something needs to change, but you are not sure what or how or where to even begin. I see all of that. And I want you to know that the fact that you are carrying those questions is not a sign of weak faith. It is a sign of an honest heart that is willing to sit with the tension of not having all the answers. An honest heart that is still looking, still seeking, still open enough to click on a video that speaks to something it recognized. I honor that, and I want to meet you in it. The season you are in right now is not a mistake. It is not a detour from the life you were supposed to have. It is not evidence that something went wrong. It is exactly where I need you to be right now, for reasons that are becoming clearer with every step you take forward. And some of those reasons you will only understand when you look back from a distance. But they are real, and they are purposeful, and they are leading somewhere. Let me tell you about a man named Elijah, not the triumphant version of Elijah who called down fire from heaven, the other version. The one who was sitting under a tree in the wilderness, exhausted and depleted and telling me he had had enough. The one who wanted to quit. The one who had just come from the greatest victory of his ministry and found himself completely undone by what came next. An angel touched him twice and told him to eat, because the journey ahead was too long for him to walk on empty. I want to touch you today. I want to say, eat, rest, receive what I am offering in this moment, because the journey ahead of you is real and significant and worth everything you have been through to get here. And I do not want you to walk it on empty. This message is food for your spirit. This moment is not wasted, even if it is the only thing you do today that feels meaningful. This is enough. Let me feed you. Let me speak to the places in you that have been running on empty. Let me show you something about where you are and where you are going that will give you what you need to take the next step. I want to talk to you about the specific moment you are in, not in general terms. Specifically, you are at a crossroads. I can see it. There is something in front of you that requires a decision, a direction, a commitment to one path or another. And you have been standing at that crossroads longer than you meant to because the fear of choosing wrong has been louder than the certainty of choosing right. I want to speak to that fear today. The fear of choosing wrong comes from believing that your future depends entirely on the choices you make. That one wrong turn could derail everything. That if you miss the right door, you will be lost permanently. That there is a perfect path and any deviation from it means disaster. That is not how I work. I am not a God who sets up an obstacle course with one correct route and sends you through it hoping you figure out the right turns. I am a God who walks with you, who can work with every road you take, who can redirect a wrong turn into the right destination, who can take your mistakes and your detours and your wrong choices and weave them into a story that still arrives exactly where it was always meant to arrive. You cannot mess up so badly that I cannot work with it. You cannot wander so far that I cannot reach you. You cannot make a choice so wrong that I cannot use it, because I am bigger than your choices. And my plan for your life is not so fragile that it falls apart the moment you make a wrong turn. So decide, move, take the step, and trust that I am with you in it. That if you go the wrong way, I will redirect you. That if you stumble, I will catch you. That the path is not as narrow and treacherous as fear has been telling you. Walk forward, I am with you. I also want to speak to the longing that brought you here today, because everyone who ends up in a moment like this one is carrying a longing, a deep and specific desire for something they do not yet have. Something they have been believing for, praying for, hoping for. Something that feels like it is taking too long or may not come at all. What is that longing for you? What is the specific thing you have been carrying? What is the prayer that has been on your lips for longer than you can believe? What is the dream that has not yet materialized? What is the promise you are still waiting to see fulfilled? I know what it is. I placed it there. That longing in you is not random. It is not the product of your own imagination running wild. The deep desires of your heart, the ones that will not go away no matter how many times you try to release them, those are the fingerprints of a purpose I placed in you before you were born. I do not place desires in people to frustrate them. I do not give you a longing for something I have no intention of providing. The desire itself is a form of promise. It is me saying, this is real, this is for you, keep believing, keep moving toward it. Because it exists and it is waiting for the moment that is right for it to arrive. The longing is not a torment, it is a compass. Let it point you forward. Let me pray with you before we continue. Father, I lift up every person who found this video today, every person who did not know why they clicked on it but something drew them in, every person who needed to hear that this moment was not an accident, that you sent them here, that you have something specific to say to them today. Meet them right where they are, at the crossroads, in the longing, in the questions they have been carrying. Speak to the specific situation that brought them to this moment, and let them leave this first part knowing that you see them, that you sent this message to them, and that what you have begun in their life is not finished. In your name, amen. I want to go deeper into something I said earlier, about the crossroads, about the fear of choosing wrong, because I think many of you have been paralyzed at a crossroads for longer than you intended to be, and I want to release you from that paralysis today. The reason the crossroads feels so frightening is that you have been operating under the belief that there is one perfect path, and if you miss it, everything is ruined. That belief is not from me. It is from a spirit of fear that has used the idea of my perfect will as a tool to keep you frozen, to make you so afraid of getting it wrong that you never move at all. But here is the truth about my perfect will. My perfect will is not a single invisible thread that you have to find and follow exactly or fall off a cliff. My perfect will is a destination, and there are many roads that lead to that destination. Some are more direct than others, some are more scenic, some involve detours that turn out to be the most important parts of the journey. But I am not a God who stands at the end of one specific road and watches with disappointment as you take a different one. I walk with you on whatever road you take, and I use every road. I use the direct ones and the winding ones and even the wrong ones. I use your best decisions and your worst ones. I use your faith and even your doubt, because I am bigger than your choices and my plan is not derailed by your humanity. So move, choose, take the step, and trust that I am more than capable of getting you where you need to go regardless of which road you take to get there. The only step I cannot work with is the one you never take. I also want to speak to something that happens when people begin to sense that I am speaking to them. Sometimes the immediate response is not faith, it is resistance, a voice that says, this is too good to be true. Things like this do not happen to me. I am not the kind of person who receives specific, personal, timely messages from God, and I want to address that voice directly. That voice is wrong. You are exactly the kind of person I speak to. You are exactly the kind of person I reach out to. You are exactly the kind of person I arrange moments for and place messages in front of and call by name in the middle of an ordinary day. There is no category of person who is too ordinary, too broken, too far gone, too faithless, or too undeserving for me to speak to. I spoke to a murderer on a road to Damascus and turned him into one of the greatest voices the world has ever heard. I spoke to a woman at a well who had been married 5 times and was living with someone she was not married to, and she became the first evangelist of a city. I spoke to a shepherd boy in a field and called him a king. I speak to the overlooked and the broken and the doubting and the afraid. I speak to you today, right now, through these words. Receive it. Let it land. Stop waiting until you feel worthy enough to be spoken to by me. You are already worthy. Not because of anything you have done, because of who I say you are. And I have been saying it since before you were born. You are mine. I am yours. And this message was for you. I want to speak to something else that I know is present in this moment for many of you, and that is the weight of expectation. Not just the expectations others have placed on you, though those are real and heavy, but the expectations you have placed on yourself, the internal standard that you have been measuring yourself against, the version of your life that you thought you would have by now, the person you thought you would be, the things you thought you would have accomplished, and the gap between that expectation and where you actually are right now. That gap is one of the most painful places a person can live, because it does not just feel like disappointment. It feels like failure, like you have let down not just yourself but everyone who believed in you, everyone who expected something from you, everyone who was watching. I want to speak into that gap today. The version of your life you imagined was built with the information you had at the time. It was built without full knowledge of what the journey would require, without full knowledge of what I was going to ask of you, without full knowledge of the seasons that were coming and what they would cost and what they would produce. You built an expectation based on incomplete information. I am not bound by your incomplete expectations. I am building something based on complete knowledge, full sight, perfect understanding of everything you are and everything you need and everything the world needs from you. And what I am building is better than what you planned, even if it does not look like it right now, even if the timeline is different, even if the shape of it is not what you imagined. Release the expectation you've built for yourself. Hold it loosely. Let me replace it with something more true, something more aligned with who you actually are and what you are actually made for. Because what I have planned for you is better than what you plan for yourself. Not necessarily easier, not necessarily faster, but better, more real, more lasting, more aligned with the deepest version of who you are. Trust me with the plan. Let me hold the blueprint and walk forward with the freedom of someone who does not have to manage their own destiny, because I am managing it, and I am very, very good at my job. I want to continue speaking to you about why you are here today, because I do not think we have fully unpacked it yet. I told you that you did not end up here by accident, that I sent you, and I want to go deeper into what that means. Because I think some of you heard that and it registered intellectually, but did not fully land yet in the place where it needs to land. I send you here today because I have been trying to reach you, not in a desperate or frantic way, in the patient, persistent way that I pursue every person I love, which is every person. I have been sending signals into your life for a while now. Little things that you have noticed and maybe dismissed. The thought that came out of nowhere, the song that seemed to be speaking directly to your situation, the conversation that took an unexpected turn into something that felt strangely relevant, the moment of quiet where something stirred in you that you could not quite name. All of that was me, reaching, speaking, trying to get your attention in the way that was most available to you in that moment. And today, through this message, I finally have it, so I am going to use it. I want to tell you something about your specific story, not in general terms about what I do for people, specifically about you, about the chapters of your life that have led to this moment. You have been through things that have shaped you in ways you do not yet fully understand, losses that left marks, victories that built something in you, seasons of waiting that produced a patience you did not have before, seasons of abundance that gave you a generosity you carry into the lean times, relationships that taught you things about love and about yourself that no classroom could have taught. Every single chapter has been purposeful, including the ones you would not have chosen, including the painful ones, including the ones that felt like detours or setbacks or outright disasters. I have been working through all of it, weaving it together into something that, when you finally see the full picture, will take your breath away. You are not an accident. Your life is not a random series of events that just happened to you. You are a carefully crafted story being written by someone who loves you and who can see every chapter from beginning to end. And the story is not finished, not by a long way. The best chapters have not been written yet. I want to talk to you now about purpose, because I think one of the reasons I sent you here today is because you have been losing sight of yours. Life has a way of doing that. The demands of daily survival, the weight of difficult seasons, the noise of a world that is constantly telling you what you should want and who you should be, all of that can drown out the signal of what you were actually made for. What were you made for? Do you know? Have you ever sat quietly long enough to hear the answer? I placed something specific in you before you were born, a capacity, a calling, a combination of gifts and personality and perspective and experience that is entirely unique to you and that the world genuinely needs. There is no one else who can do what you were made to do in exactly the way you were made to do it, not even close. And right now, in this season, I am calling you back to that. I am calling you to stop comparing your purpose to someone else's. Stop trying to squeeze yourself into a calling that was designed for someone else. Stop diminishing what I placed in you because it does not look impressive enough by the world's standards. What I placed in you is enough. It is more than enough. And when it is fully activated, fully lived, fully offered to the world in the way only you can offer it, it will do things you cannot currently imagine. Come back to your purpose. Let me remind you of it. Let me call it back to life in you. I want to speak now to the people who are watching this and wondering if they have missed it, if they have wasted too many years, if the window for their purpose has closed, if it is too late. It is not too late. I need you to hear that clearly and without qualification. It is not too late. Moses was 80 years old when I called him to his greatest work. 80. He had spent 40 years in the palace and 40 years in the wilderness, and he stood at a burning bush at 80 years old and received the assignment that would define his legacy for the rest of human history. Abraham was 100 years old when the child of promise finally arrived. 100. The thing he had been believing for since he was 75 finally came at 100. Sarah laughed when she heard the promise, because it seemed impossible, because the natural window had long since closed, because by every human calculation, it was too late. But I am not bound by human calculations, and what I have promised does not expire. Your purpose has not expired. Your window has not closed. The dream I placed in you is still alive, and it is not too late to step into it. What would it look like for you to take one step toward your purpose today? Not a dramatic, life-altering leap. Just one step, one conversation, 1 hour spent doing the thing you know you were made to do. One decision to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and to begin with what you have right now. Begin, just begin. And watch what I do with the beginning. I want to address something before we close. The doubt that says, how do I know this message is really for me? How do I know this is not just general encouragement packaged to feel personal? How do I know that I am not just finding meaning in something that is not actually meaningful? I understand that doubt. It is a reasonable question to ask, and I want to answer it. You know this message is for you because of what happened when you heard it. because something in you responded, because there were specific moments where something I said landed in a place that felt too accurate to be general, because you are still here, because the pull you felt to keep listening was stronger than the skepticism that told you to scroll past. That response is not manufactured. I do not produce spiritual feelings artificially. When my word lands in a heart that is ready to receive it, something happens, a stirring, a recognition, a sense of being seen that goes beyond what words on a screen should be able to produce. If you felt any of that today, even faintly, even just for a moment, that was real, that was me, and this message was for you. I want to close by telling you what comes next. What comes next is a decision, not a big dramatic one necessarily, just the decision to keep going, to take the next step, to trust that I am with you in whatever comes after this moment, to bring the questions and the longings and the fears to me instead of carrying them alone. What comes next is the continued unfolding of a story that is far from over, a story that has chapters ahead of it that you cannot yet see but that I have already written, and they are good. They are worth what you have been through to get here. They are worth the wait and the uncertainty and the hard seasons. What comes next is me, walking with you, speaking to you, arranging the moments and the people and the circumstances that are needed for the next chapter, working in the seen and the unseen places, never leaving, never stopping, never giving up on the person I made and called in love. You did not find this video by accident, and you will not leave it unchanged. Something happened here today. Something small maybe, a seed, a shift, a word that landed somewhere it needed to land. And I am going to water it, and it is going to grow into something that will one day make complete sense of this moment. Trust me, take the next step, and know that I am with you every single step of the way. Let me pray over you now. Father, I thank you for every person who found this message today, for every person who is leaving this video knowing that this was not a coincidence, that you sent them here, that you saw them and spoke to them and met them exactly where they were. I ask that you continue what you began in them today. Water the seed that was planted, grow it into something real and lasting. Guide them to the next step, give them the courage to take it, and let them walk forward from this moment with the certainty that you are with them, that their story is not over, that their purpose is alive, and that the best is truly yet to come. In your name, amen. If this message was for you today, type "not a coincidence" in the comments. Let someone else know that I am still speaking to his people. Share this with someone who needs to know that God sent them exactly where they are for a reason. Subscribe to God's Voice today and turn on notifications. Every single day there is a fresh message here waiting for you. God is speaking. Make sure you are here to receive it. God bless you. I will see you in the next message. I want to add one more layer before we truly close today, because there is something I have not yet said that needs to be said. I am proud of you, not because of what you have accomplished, not because of the ways you have succeeded or the goals you have reached or the person you have managed to become in spite of everything that has tried to stop you. I am proud of you because you are still here, because you kept going through the seasons that should have broken you, because you got up on the mornings when staying down would have been completely understandable, because you have held on to something, even when that something was just the thinnest thread of hope, even when you were not sure what you were holding on to or why. That kind of perseverance is not small. In my eyes, it is one of the most extraordinary things a human being can do, to keep going when every reason to stop is louder than every reason to continue, to keep believing when the evidence has been mixed at best, to still be here, listening to this message, when the easier thing would have been to give up long ago. I see that, I honor that, and I want you to know that nothing about where you are right now, nothing about the hard seasons or the unanswered prayers or the questions that are still questions, diminishes how I feel about you or how proud I am of who you are becoming. You are becoming something remarkable. Through the fire and the waiting and the uncertainty and the perseverance, something is being formed in you that could not have been formed any other way. And I can see what it is even if you cannot yet. Trust the process. Trust the one who is overseeing it. Trust that what you are becoming is worth everything you have been through to get there. And know that you did not end up here today by accident. I sent you because I wanted you to hear all of this. Because you needed it. Because somewhere in these words was something that your spirit required for the next chapter of your journey. You have it now, carry it with you, and go forward knowing that I am with you, that I will always be with you, and that the story I am writing through your life is one of the most beautiful things I have ever had. The joy of creating. I love you. I have always loved you. I will always love you, and I am not done with you yet. Not even close. There is one more thing I want to say to you before this message ends, and it is perhaps the most important thing I have said today. I need you to stop waiting to feel ready before you step into what I have called you to. I need you to stop waiting for the fear to disappear before you move forward. I need you to stop waiting for every question to be answered before you take the next step. I need you to stop waiting for perfect conditions before you begin. Ready is a feeling that almost never arrives before obedience. It arrives after. It arrives in the middle of the step you were afraid to take. It arrives when you are already moving and you look back and realize that you are doing the thing you thought you could not do. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is movement in spite of it. It is the decision to take the next step, not because you can see the whole staircase, but because you trust the one who built it. It is the act of saying, I do not have all the answers. I am not fully ready, but I trust you enough to move anyway. That is the faith I am asking of you today. Not the faith that has everything figured out. The faith that moves anyway. The faith that says yes even when yes is terrifying. The faith that takes the first step even when the second step is not yet visible. You have that faith. It may be buried under layers of disappointment and uncertainty and the weight of unanswered prayer, but it is there. I placed it there, and today through this message, I am calling it back to the surface. Move. Take the step. Say yes to the thing I have been calling you toward. Stop waiting for ready and start walking in faith. Because the step you take in faith today is the one that will make everything that comes next possible. I sent you here today for this moment, for this invitation, for this specific word at this specific crossroads in your specific story. You are not here by accident, and you will not leave unchanged. I love you. Walk forward. I am with you.